Welcome to the Tough Decisions Network for Entrepreneurs. I'm Dan Hanford, and my wife, Danae, and I interview successful people sharing stories behind tough decisions that they've had to make along their journey as an entrepreneur. Before we get started, let's hear from one of our sponsors.
Hello, this is Crum III, host of the Conscious Millionaire podcast, with a special announcement for business owners, entrepreneurs, and coaches. Do you want to grow your business to reach 7 figures or even multiple 7 figures? Well, right now, you may have reached 6 figures, but it's easy to get stuck or just not know which steps to take next. Frankly, that can happen to anyone. That's why this month, my special gift to you is the 7-figure formula. Now, it contains the exact steps I've used to make millions and that you need to build your own 7-figure business. Get it now as my gift to you. Go to consciousmillionaire.com/7-figure formula. Again, go to consciousmillionaire.com/7-figure formula.
On the podcast with us today is Crum III. He is with the Conscious Millionaire and is one of the top 13 business podcasts named by Inc. magazine and is a best-selling author. Welcome to the podcast, JV.
Well, Dan, it's great for us to reconnect because we're realizing we haven't even, been together for about 4 years, but we were in a mastermind together and really got to know each other well. So first of all, total congrats on your podcast, because I know how much work this actually is to do a really good podcast.
Yes, it is.
This is a job in and of itself. So you've been highly successful, and just a big congratulations.
Well, thank you so much, JV. And I remember back when we first met, even before any of your podcasts or anything like that, when you were just developing kind of the brains behind the Conscious Millionaire brand. And I enjoyed being in that mastermind with you. And for the listeners, I think one of the things that has helped myself, and I know you would say as well, is being part of high-level masterminds.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I've been in a lot of masterminds. We'll be running masterminds. I do boot camps, and I've had over 1,000 different guests, over 1,500 episodes. And I have kind of a mastermind of people who've been guests on my show even, because it's amazing the ideas you get. And I'm in a joint venture mastermind where we do joint ventures with each other.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I like about the masterminds is trying to find a mastermind that you can provide value, but also gain value at the same time. And that's one of the reasons why I created the podcast, is because it's kind of somewhat of a selfish thing, because I like being able to interview high-level people like yourself that can provide a lot of good value to our listeners, but also to me personally, and I can learn from that. So tell us a little bit about your background as an entrepreneur and where your current focus is right now.
Sure. Well, I'll skip 3 things. Age 4, started the first little business selling tangerines squeezed into egg cartons for 10 cents to the high school kids. So that was the first entrepreneurial impulse. Then I turned around a family trucking line, made it highly successful, made my first million at 25, and really cut my teeth learning how to build systems and run teams. We had over 50 people. And how to really build the hardcore aspects of a business really well, which I think a lot of people miss that level of education. Did that for 18 years, sold that. Now I have Conscious Millionaire, which is the core of what I do. And Conscious Millionaire, our brand can best be understood as we help entrepreneurs, coaches, and consultants make a bigger impact and then turn that impact into big money and the big fulfillment that they want. So we run boot camps. I do individual coaching. I have 5 different podcasts. I speak all over the world. I'm going to Sydney this fall, which will be kind of fun, except for the 24-hour plane ride. But I'm speaking for a day, but staying for a week and a half, because it's taking me a week and a half to just reorient myself. But I haven't been to Australia, so that's kind of cool. I've been wanting to get to Australia. So those are the things that we do. And my passion is really, if I look at it this way, there are people who want to just live in the little ripple pond. And I decided I wasn't interested in that group. I'm interested in people who want to create a big wave with their life. They really want to do something positive, uplift, transform their clients, make a big impact, and they want to become wealthy in the process. That's the group that I work with.
Well, I want you to, in your background, obviously you have a lot of, wealth of knowledge and a lot of experience. And I know you've faced tough decisions throughout your career.
Definitely.
I want you to kind of think back to, what I like to call the sore thumb tough decision, where it kind of sticks out like a sore thumb. You kind of can go, yep, that's the one I should talk about one that did not have that good of an outcome for you and some of the lessons you learned through that outcome.
Yeah, this is such a great question, Dan, because it dredged up an old memory that I hadn't thought about for a while, because it was a while back. So in the trucking line, we had 50 people. We had all these trucks. We were running 12,000 loads a year. And my office manager, who had been with us for quite a while, in simple terms, was beginning to sabotage a lot of stuff, right? And that office manager also had deep relationships with all of our clients because she'd been with us for a long time. So it was a difficult decision what to do about this, but it wasn't getting better. It was getting worse. So I terminated our agreement only to have her violate her non-compete, go to all of our clients, say really negative things about me and the company, and start her own little trucking line and get part of our business, which led to us having to sue her and go through a lengthy process, which created bad PR with the clients who decided they loved her, so they were going to do business with her. So it became just a horrific, messy situation that had to be managed on financial levels, on PR levels, on legal levels. It was probably the least fun result I've ever had from a business decision.
I can imagine. What would you say, looking back, could you have done differently to, maybe prevent this or, maybe try to, mitigate this before it got to this level?
Yeah, it's a really great question. I'm a believer. I just like to put this out. Part of my philosophy is sometimes there are not solutions to problems. Politicians pretend like there are, but those of us in the business world go, yeah, I don't think that one's going to get solved, right? So,
because it sounded like you did just about everything you could. You had a contract in place, and a non-compete,
we had a non-compete. We'd done all the right things. So I'm not sure that it was one of those things that could have been changed, because we unfortunately do only have control over our own lives. And I don't live in the delusional world that I can somehow control anybody else's life.
Well, let me let you look at it a different way and see if maybe you've never thought of this before, and maybe you have. But I know for me, I've had in situations not very similar to this, but other situations where I've looked at and I'm like, yep, they did wrong against me. I could sue them. I could lose a lot of time and effort and money. And at the end of the day, what am I really gaining? And maybe that was very fruitful or profitable for you. But if you looked back and saw the amount of time and effort and energy and money that you spent on trying to pursue this person, would it have been more advantageous for you to just let it go and try to find more clients and try to move on and move past it?
Yeah, that was a difficult situation because we were in a specific niche. We were number one and we maintained being number one in that niche. But there was another factor that was going on in that this was the beginning stages of positioning the company, which we didn't want anyone to know about, to sell it.
Mm-hmm.
So
that person knew that?
No, they did not know that. They didn't know that. But we had to handle things in a way that were going to make sense when you put a prospectus together to sell the business. Like, it wasn't going to make sense that you just let someone take a share of your business when they were violating their non-compete. So there were a lot of tricky factors involved. So in retrospect, it did take a lot of time. It was a horrible experience. I would still have filed the lawsuit because under the circumstances, I just think it was the prudent thing to do in business, especially when you had the business that was on the verge of being put on the market.
Well, and I think the other side of that too is it sets a precedent for future employees.
Right. And that's the other part of it, because everybody had a non-compete.
You wanted to make sure that you could put your teeth in if somebody tried to challenge it.
Because if we said we aren't going to, enforce this, then what was to stop everybody else from going after all our clients?
That's very true.
So what kind of effect did that have, if any, on the morale of the other employees? Because that particular person had been with the company for so long, did you notice any ripple effect with your other employees at that point?
Yeah, it's interesting because we ended up having to terminate our maintenance person and we replaced all the administrative staff. So yeah, we kind of had to do a wholesale, but this was part of the plan already that we were like, you kind of knew that you were going to have to do some replacement because of loyalties and all of that. So that part we had thought through. So none of that was shocking to us. And actually, we were better off for those. All those decisions worked out well.
Now, the person that you found to replace that person, did they work out better than the one that was in there?
Oh, my God. Like 10 times better. I mean, seriously.
To say, that's usually how it happens.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, see, that was the problem, is that things were like happening. Things weren't getting handled correctly. The office wasn't running well. Yes. So the person that I found was fantastic. Fantastic.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it was kind of a wholesale, if you think of it like changing the software, because really that's part of what we were doing, is we were upgrading everything about the business. And we had been doing quality control. So there is a piece behind that. So at that point in time, a gentleman by the name of Crosby had written a lot of books. And his whole concept, which made total sense to me, was zero defects, that had to be the standard for everything you did in your business. And I think I can characterize it by saying in one of those meetings, she said, well, why can't the billing be 80% correct? And I said, because 20% of it is going to get sent back. So the only standard we can have. So it was about getting people on the same page that this is how we're going to play.
Yeah.
We're going to play the zero defect standard. Now, do you want to play? Do you not want to play? And so all the people I hired were hired with that standard discussed in the interview.
Mm-hmm.
So you had an idea of where they were, and I truly found people who thought that made sense. And then the business actually ran much more efficiently.
That's awesome. So I want to shift here just a little bit and talk about a different tough decision that you had, maybe a little more positive outcome too, and some of the lessons you learned from that one.
It's so interesting because they're kind of interrelated. So I decided to sell the business, and there were a couple of positive decisions I made there, and it turned out great. So the first one was I went to a lot of business brokers, 5 in fact. I decided only one of them did I really want to do business with, because I found that, I was going to be blunt, in that world, there were a lot of slimy people. And it was very important to me that confidentiality be kept, because especially now that we had this lawsuit going on, we didn't want people knowing that we were selling. So I was just finishing my MBA, and I looked at the prospectus that each of them put together. So there was only one. He'd been a banker, but he was older and we got along great, but then he got sick right when I wanted to hire. So I went, okay, I got 4 I don't want to hire. 1 I do, but he got sick. So I ended up writing the prospectus and managing the process and contracting with my accountant to be the front place where we would send out, back in the old days, faxes and put ads in, transportation topic magazines. And so he would be the contact person, so no one would know what the trucking line was. And then I looked at all the inquiries and went, oh yeah, that person could be a good person. So the first part of that decision, it turned out great because I saved a brokerage fee.
Sure.
So that was a chunk, and I handled it myself. It was a pretty hefty chunk, actually, right? Because it was a 7-figure deal, and we were going to be giving up a chunk. The second thing was, because I put it together, and I was also an attorney, so I contracted with our longtime attorney that he would be looking over the paperwork, but I would negotiate the deal. So I was sure that the paperwork had everything it was supposed to have in it, but that I would handle the negotiation of everything. So I was highly motivated at that moment because, as you may know, when you get ready and you really want to sell a business, now you're ready for it to be done today, right? But that's not how it works. And so I hung in there and went through a 1.5-year sales process, which is not that unusual, and 7 negotiations, and turned down 6, even though I wanted to sell, because I created, before we ever did the prospectus, before we ever went out, put ads, anything, I created a specific set of criteria of exactly who that, just like you should in your business, who was that ideal buyer, just like who's that ideal client. So when I went through and met with people, I knew pretty quickly, not right. Doesn't meet our criteria. I don't think this is going to bring us the highest money. In a deal like that, you typically have to hold some paper for a while. I wanted to be sure I was going to get paid, that things weren't going to blow up. And the 7th one, on the first meeting, I knew. And it was a complex situation. We had a 200-page document to tell you how long the docs were, and we closed in 3 months because it was right for both of us. They walked away from that meeting knowing they wanted to buy. I mean, it was like a glove, the glove fit in this situation, right? And so the tough decision was going through a 1.5 years and turning down 6 genuine offers, one of which the most fun, just to add, was a guy flew down from New Jersey. And this was a new experience for me because I'm just an honest, straightforward guy, right? He was representing the mob, and the mob wanted to buy it.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And our dinner discussion with him was, now we're going to want 2 sets of documents, one that's what we're going to pay you for, and then one that's for more money to give to our bank. And I'm an attorney. And I'm going, we don't actually do business that way. And he wanted to know with each of our clients, now what's your kickback to each of the clients? And I'm going, this is the South. We actually don't do that.
That's crazy, man. So you had the mob that almost bought your trucking company.
Yeah, so we had the mob try to buy our trucking company.
I guess they didn't almost buy it, but they tried to.
Yeah, they tried to.
Because you wouldn't let that happen.
I think this is the Nancy Reagan "Just Say No" slogan.
For sure. Well, I want you to try to share with us a few strategies that you like to do when you face tough decisions as an entrepreneur.
Well, it's interesting because I actually have a process that I teach, and it's in my book. There are a lot of pieces to it, but it's a model that's conscious, focused, action, result, learning. So the simple part of that is that I get clear about my outcome. That's in the conscious part, and why that's my outcome above all other outcomes that I would want. And then it takes me through a process of consciously looking at what I want to accomplish with this outcome, how it gets me fully committed, and then looks at, well, what are the actions I'd have to take to get to that outcome? And that helps me by having a formal decision process. It helps me stay very clean about making my best decisions. And then I'm a guy with a very strong intuition. And I think most business people who are successful have a good kind of intuitive, this is what we should do. Kind of like that intuitive, not selling to the mob kind of thing. Didn't have to think about it too long, right?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because when you have that intuition and you ignore it, that's a lot of times where you get caught.
That's huge. Yes, that's huge. I pay attention to the intuition because the intuition is telling you, it's not necessarily telling you throw the baby in the bathwater out. Mob, yeah, throw the baby in the bathwater out. But most things, sometimes it could be, maybe the timing's not quite right. Maybe you need to change that, or maybe the money's not quite right, or maybe there's somebody involved in the deal that really they need to get out of the deal. So it can be that there's something, it's a red flag, but red flag doesn't mean destroy the deal. It means you may need to look at it and negotiate it a little differently.
Yeah, I agree.
So JV, at this point, we like to go into something called the trifecta, and we basically like to ask 3 pretty quick hitting questions and just kind of get your answer as to what your favorites are. So First of all, our first question is, what is your favorite technology that you use in your business to help
on a daily basis? Yeah, it's curious because Dan and I met, and I don't even know if you're still using it, but I still use Entreport, and I'm really happy with them.
Yep.
In fact, I'm going to Entrepalooza this year for the first time, which is in October in Santa Barbara. So I think Entreport does a really good job.
So the next question on here is about your favorite quote, your most favorite quote as an entrepreneur that you've heard that's helped you.
Well, one of my early mentors was Gary Ryan Blair, and he coached me for a while, and he has the 100-day challenge it's the goal challenge. And his quote is, everything counts. And that keeps me mindful. There is no small thought. There's no small decision. There's no small allocation of my time. Like I batch my time like crazy. And, I'm highly scheduled. I have my coaching schedule out 7 months, 8 months from now, right now.
Wow.
Because
awesome.
I have to know when I can go speak. I have to know when I can be at a conference, and I have clients on Mondays and Tuesdays. But it's only 3 times a month, but I have to know at Monday and Tuesday, I can't be out because people are paying me significant money to be able to coach with me. Mm-hmm. So everything counts. And I think it's important to remember that. There is no small piece to business. Everything's going to impact everything that happens in the future.
Finally, what's your favorite book that you've read that's helped you in business?
Well, it's interesting. I'm doing a boot camp right now, high performer boot camp for coaches and consultants. And I'm doing it with another person, Marcus Aurelius Anderson, who I chose to do that with because at 40, he was paralyzed neck down from an army accident. They told him he'd never walk again. And he now, at 47, has black belts in 4 martial arts. So I'd say he's more than walking.
Wow.
And so he has a book which really, when I met him, I was like, wow, what a powerful story. And his book and his TEDx talk are The Gift of Adversity.
The gift of adversity.
The gift of adversity. And as somebody who had a heart attack this year, February 5th, I had to look at my life all new, right? And I chose to heal and I healed because I just said that's what's going to happen. But out of that adversity, I mean, we can kind of admit having a heart attack, almost dying, and being in ICU for 5 days counts as adversity. My whole business has reorganized. I now have 2 more podcasts, High Performance Mindset, High Performance Business Owners that are millionaires who own founded businesses. I'm attracting clients and speaking engagements like crazy because a month after my heart attack, one day I said, wow, who do I really want to coach with? Who do I really want to work with, right? And I said, oh, that's easy, high performers. And if they're not high performers, I don't want to work with them. So people who don't want to be high performers, who don't want to really make a big impact, who don't want to constantly redefine what's the summit they're going for and then overcome the challenges to get there, those are the people that I now work with. And guess what? Once I put that word out, people got it. So that was tremendous. I mean, my revenues are up significantly. My health is actually significantly better because of all the positive things I'm doing. Like when we finish this morning, I'm headed over to the athletic club for an hour, and then I'll start my official work day, right? So out of that adversity, amazing things came. So The Gift of Adversity, I think it's a great book.
That kind of leads into our next question for you, which is going to be, what's the next thing for JV Crum III on your vision or your dream board? Yeah,
so the next thing is very clear. I just cleared my schedule yesterday for the start of the next month. And we have 1,500 episodes in 4 years, multiple podcasts, incredible guests, and we're now productizing it all. And I really think that's going to be the million answer because we're going to produce podcasts but we're going to take the information. And I'll go ahead and tell you the first one. It'll probably be out when we're talking. It's going to be a question that I've asked 250 times with people like Jay Abraham, Perry Marshall, people like that, Russell Brunson, 48-hour client. How would you identify, attract, and close a high-paying client in 48 hours? High-paying like $25,000 or more. And I have amazing answers. So I'm turning that into a product. And I've got a lot of other ideas that I think are going to be equally attractive that people are going to go, yeah, I want that. And we're going to turn these into products.
Well, I know there's a lot of people listening right now that are going, how do I reach JV Crum III? So can you tell the listeners as we wrap things up here, how they can get a hold of you, how they can follow you more and kind of maybe, look up some of your podcasts?
Well, first of all, I work one-on-one with business owners, coaches, consultants who are successful, and now they really want to build a podcast, but they don't want to just build the cookie cutter podcast. They want to build, like we have 12 million listeners in a month and 2.3 to 2.5 million downloads and streams are out of that, plus our radio shows. So I'm working with entrepreneurs, business owners, coaches, consultants who want to build a podcast, but they want to build it as part of their business so it increases their impact, it increases the money that they're making, it increases their personal brand. So if you want to do that, just call me, text me. Please just put your name in the text so I know who texts me so I can text you back. I get all these texts like, hey, can we talk? And I'm going, hey, who is this? What would you like to talk about? Right? So my cell phone is 303-641-0401. I'll give you that one more time. Area code 303, that's Denver, 641-0401. And then for everybody, if you want to be a true high performer, I got a free gift. That's my high performer formula that you can download, give you the exact steps, what you need to do to really up your game and become a true high performer. And that's at consciousmillionaire.com/high performer. So consciousmillionaire.com/high performer.
And I'll make sure that we put that in the show notes at the toughdecisions.net site as well. So
and I just want to say, thank you for listening. I don't think there are any accidents. And if you're listening today, I think it's because you needed this information. And again, I just want to congratulate you. I know the work that it goes into doing a major podcast like you're doing and what difference it can make in the world. Because I hear from all these people like, oh my God, I don't want to miss an episode. I love what you're doing. And I know you've got the same thing and it makes a big impact. So just thank you for the difference you're making in people's lives, Dan.
Well, thank you, JV. I know you've been an inspiration to me over the years, kind of watching and following you, even though you didn't know I was doing that because it's been a couple of years since you and I have spoken. But I'm glad I kept your cell phone number and we can reach out to each other and kind of bounce some ideas off
everybody
too.
has my cell phone number. So if you'd like to talk about how you could build a really powerful, major podcast, give me a call. I'd love to talk to you.
Well, thank you so much, JV, for joining us today. Look forward to having you on a future podcast as your Conscious Millionaire brand continues to grow.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Tough Decisions Network. Be sure to visit toughdecisions.net to gain access to show notes for this episode and to join our free weekly entrepreneur email where we will send you news about the latest technology for your business, inspiring quotes, and the latest books for entrepreneurs. That's toughdecisions.net.